This video features the institutions that oversee the financial services sector. The core institutions that oversee the financial services sector are the Ministry of Finance, which facilitates revenue collection and revenue management, budget planning, preparation, and management. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, which regulates banks and non-banks such as trust companies, mortgage companies, merchant banks and finance companies, insurance intermediaries, occupational pension plans, bureau de change, and payment systems. The Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago, or the FIU, was established to implement the anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism AML-CFT policies of the Financial Action Task Force, and the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, which regulates the securities industry. Let's take a look at the role and functions of the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance's core mandate can be divided into fiscal policy, budget management, accounting and reporting policies, internal control and audit, and other finance functions. Some of the services offered at the Ministry include the implementation of the income and corporate tax system through the Board of Inland Revenue, processing and collection of excise and import duty on goods imported and exported into Trinidad and Tobago through the Customs and Excise Division, issuing and processing of tenders for the procurement of goods and services through the Central Tenders Board, processing and issuing business and non-profit licenses, and financial management, treasury management, and pension management through the Treasury Division. Some of the legislation related to the ministry include the Income Tax Act Chapter 7501, the Corporation Tax Act Chapter 7502, the Value Added Tax Act Chapter 7506, the Customs Act Chapter 7801, the Financial Institutions Act Chapter 7909, the Fiscal Incentive Act Chapter 8501, and the Foreign Investment Act Chapter 7007, to name a few. Governance of the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago is prescribed in the Central Bank Act of Chapter 7902. The day-to-day management of the bank is entrusted to the governor, who is also the chairman of the board of directors. The Central Bank Act entrusts the central bank with a range of responsibilities, including, but not limited to, issuing and redeeming currency, developing and implementing monetary policy, acting as banker and advisor to the government, and acting as banker to the commercial banks. The central bank is also responsible for the general administration of the Financial Institutions Act 2008 and the Insurance Act, the supervision of entities licensed under those acts, and the oversight of payment systems. The primary objective of the central bank in respect of its licenses is to promote the soundness and stability of and maintain confidence in the financial system of Trinidad and Tobago. The central bank manages the foreign exchange market and protects the external value of currency pursuant to the powers given to it under the Exchange Control Act Chapter 7950 and the Central Bank Act Chapter 7902. The central bank is also the regulator that has oversight of all banks, insurance companies, and pensions. In accordance with the Unit Trust Act 8303, the central bank is also involved in certain aspects of this institution, which may involve approving all regulations and giving board directions in matters of monetary and financial policy involving the public's interest. The central bank is also instrumental in the development of Trinidad and Tobago's financial system and continues to adopt policies which foster economic growth and development. Legislation governing the central bank includes the Financial Institutions Act Chapter 7909, the Insurance Act Chapter 8401, the Exchange Control Act Chapter 7950, among others. The Financial Intelligence Unit, or FIU, which was incorporated under the Financial Intelligence Act of 2009, has been established to implement the anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism, or AML-CFT policies of the Financial Action Task Force, an intergovernmental organization set up by a group of 7 industrialized countries. The FIU is the primary institution for the collection of financial intelligence and information and the analysis, dissemination, and exchange of such financial intelligence. This will also include the information among law enforcement authorities, financial institutions, and listed businesses as stated under the Proceeds of Crime Act 2009 in Trinidad and Tobago and internationally. On July 3, 2013, the FIU was admitted as a member of the Egmont Group of FIUs. The Egmont Group is the internationally recognized anti-money laundering forum of FIUs. The Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, or the TTSEC, is an autonomous body whose primary role is to regulate the securities industry in Trinidad and Tobago. The Commission has 5 primary functions. 1. Registers all market actors and the securities offered in Trinidad and Tobago. 2. Ensures orderly, fair, and equitable trading in the securities market. 3. Conducts inspections, reviews, and examinations of market participants. 4. Conducts enforcement of the legislation which governs the functioning of the industry rules. This is carried out through the use of orders, guidelines, and bylaws, as well as establishing and monitoring standards in the market, which include codes of conduct, prudential criteria, and corporate governance. And 5. Ensures investor protection and instills investor confidence. The Commission conducts an investor education program aimed at providing suitable knowledge to investors to help them make informed investment decisions. The TTSEC, the sole regulator of the securities industry, works in tandem with other financial institutions, namely the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank, and the Financial Intelligence Unit to achieve its mandate. To recap, the core institutions that oversee the financial services sector are the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, the Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Now that you know a bit more about the key institutions that oversee our financial sector, the next video in this series will look at the importance of the securities industry in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for viewing, and remember to like us on Facebook for up-to-date information on the securities industry and much more.